So I'm making sauerkraut, and it's actually going to be possibly a version of kimchi, beet kraut, sauerkraut all combined together. Excuse the mess, but I've already started, and I thought, why not make a video? Now, if you're anything like me, math wasn't my best subject in school, so percentages don't calculate for me properly. So I had to figure out how to turn that into an easy measurement that I could use. And so what I have here is 14.7 pounds of vegetables. Cabbage, I've got purple cabbage, green cabbage, carrots, beets, and an onion, along with some garlic and a piece of ginger. I'm putting this all in the mix. So altogether we had 14.7 pounds of goods. And we are going to cut it all up. Now, if you're doing cabbage or sauerkraut in bulk, it's good to get one of these. And I'll put the link to this on Amazon for you. I love using this. I use the thin slice blade. I've had this thing forever, and it's great for making sauerkraut. Also a titanium peeler. I peel the carrots and I peel the beets, and I'm going to use a food processor to shred these to save time today. And I'm not going to videotape me making this, because there are plenty of videos if you want to learn how to shred cabbage or dice carrots or whatever. There's plenty of videos for that. This video is going to be short and sweet, and it's going to give you the ratios in measurements that you can understand if you weren't that great in math in school. So I'll probably leave this run because I might want to talk a little bit during the video. Here we go. So basically what I'm going to do is some of this loose stuff, we're just going to dice it up with a knife. And be careful whenever you're doing this, just be careful. So anyways, in my calculations, I said I had 14.7 pounds of vegetables. Now, I'm using 1.5 teaspoons per pound, which adds up to roughly 22 teaspoons of salt for the entire batch. Now, to further break that down, that is 7.3 tablespoons. So when you're doing this, measure out how much in weight you have in your vegetables, and then you take, if you have 14 pounds, there's 14 teaspoons, and then divide that 14 in half, and there's 7 teaspoons. So 14 plus 7 is what, 21? 8 to 9, 20, 21. Yeah, 21 teaspoons if you have an even 14 pounds. And it's really that easy. And that's what you'll do, and you'll sprinkle that in, you'll layer it in with your oh, but you can't see me up here, can you? Let's bring this out a little bit. Now, normally I just make beet kraut with carrots and beets, but I'm trying something new this time, and I will link once this has fermented, and I'll probably let it ferment for 2 or 3 weeks. So I will be sure to set a alert for me to come back and make another video and link it to this one so that you can see how it turned out. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be great, because I love all of these things that are going into it. I'm just going to cut this up nice and tiny. Give it a toss into the bucket. Now, something else that's handy, one of these when you start getting a bunch of sauerkraut, you can use this to scoop it up and toss it in. So if you have one of those, it's great. Otherwise, you know, don't worry about it. I'm gonna chop this up. I could speed this up if I have to. So I would love it if you would like my video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Yeah, I'm thinking about making some videos on things that I've learned. I've reached my 60s, and I think maybe it's time to pass on some of the wisdom and knowledge that I've accumulated over the years. And I'm not real concerned with getting lots of views. I just want to be able to help people and let people know that, you know, there's someone else out there that might be doing the same thing that they're doing or curious about the same things. So, you know, YouTube doesn't always have to be monetized, and I don't care about being monetized because that's just not my thing. Let's see. I'm gonna cut this in quarters. And then make small slices. Actually, probably do that a lot quicker. And again, watch your fingers on this thing. Yeah, that works. Getting a good slice. This thing is great. It's fast and it's easy. You just have to pay attention when you're getting down to that last little bit. And this is where this thing comes in handy. Like I said, it's easy to scoop things up a lot quicker. I think I may actually let the video run just to see how long it takes me to do this. So I will speed it up for your sake, because you don't want to sit through an hour if it takes me an hour or however long it's going to take me. But yeah. We'll just roll with it and see what happens. Okay. Now, let's, I am going to pause for a moment because I'm going to get out my food processor and get the carrots done, and I don't want to blast your ears with that. Okay, processing done. Anything left over. We're going to chop that up with a knife. I like, on my table, I like putting a towel down. This is kind of the way I do it, and this might help you. I like to put a towel down. Even though I sanitize my table, I still like to keep my table pretty clean. And I put a towel down underneath my board. It keeps my board still better too. So basically, we're going to just take this. I've cut them in quarters. We're just going to start shredding and pull off the large pieces. I also saved back a few outer leaves because we're going to put that on top to keep everything submerged under the brine, along with some weights. And the tub I have is a 3.5 gallon tub, I believe. I also have a 2 gallon fermenting jar, well, glass jar, that I got from Walmart for under $15. And it has a lid on it, which is going to be great because I love watching my sauerkraut ferment. I like to see all the bubbles coming up and, you know, watch its progress. Matter of fact, you know, I could probably record the process every day to see what the different changes are. Now, see, we're cutting some bigger strips here. Something else I'm going to be using is spices. Okay, so I'm going to be using dill seed, fennel, and caraway seeds along with my salt. So let's see. I will probably want to crush those for the best. Yep. So let's put a tablespoon. Crush that up. We'll start that out. I'll get this in while I'm remembering. When it comes to your seasonings, it doesn't really take a lot, but you do want to crush them up. And I think with this much, I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of fennel. We'll give that a try. Sprinkle that in. And then I'm going to do the same with dill, and I'm going to not do so much with the caraway because that's pretty strong. But I like dill. Hey, did you hear about the famous pickle by any chance? It was a big deal. I heard that from Dad jokes. I know. Not funny. Okay. Crush this up a little bit. This is just to break open that aromatic smell and flavor. Get the oils. Yep, that'll go in later. Wish you had smell-o-vision. Okay, I'm going to sprinkle that in. And then caraway seed. Everything is organic, by the way. I would highly suggest, if you're doing this, to make it organic. Okay. I'm going to use almost a tablespoon of caraway. Because even though I like it, I don't like it as much as the other two. I really like that sweet fennel. Okay. This is starting to pile up. They're working, if you're hearing all that buzzing going on, they're working across the street on the sidewalk there. There's been active construction going on my street for almost 3 years now, and I think they're finally starting to get it done. At least I hope so, because they can be quite noisy. Some days I can tolerate the noise, and some days, so, yeah. Looks good. Now, what we want to do, I'm going to set aside 7 tablespoons of salt. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 0.3. Maybe a hair more. And we're going to go ahead and start sprinkling that. So here's what I've got so far. So I'm going to lift this up. I'm just going to grab some. Sprinkle it on the top there and then roll it over. We'll get this started. Give it a head start, so that'll start decreasing in volume. And we'll just do the rest of that. Kind of give it a good stir, or a toss, rather. That pretty. It's not going to look like that when it ferments because it'll be a nice, beautiful purple color. But I'll tell you what, it's going to taste super good. And this should last me all winter. Did you know there are so many, I'll get the stats later, but the beneficial bacteria in this is just off the hook. Superb.
So, homemade sauerkraut lab results reveal that its probiotic count is even higher than a yogurt, whether it be a dairy yogurt or a vegan yogurt. Homemade lacto fermented sauerkraut just blows them out of the water. Dr. Mercola sent his homemade sauerkraut off to a lab and had it analyzed. They found in a 4 to 6 ounce serving of the fermented vegetables that there were literally 10 trillion bacteria. That means 2 ounces of home fermented sauerkraut has more probiotics than a bottle of 100 count probiotic capsules. This means that one 32 ounce jar of homemade lacto fermented sauerkraut, like what we're making today, is equivalent to 16 bottles of probiotics.
It's also helpful to have a plunger type object, you know, like a regular wooden yeah. For the life of me, I can't remember the name of it. Like a mallet or something to pound it. A pounder, cabbage pounder. A wooden cabbage pounder. I don't have one. I'll eventually invest in one, maybe. But I don't really feel the need to have one because I do pretty well with my hands. But if your hands are real sensitive, then you might want to get something to pound your cabbage with to, you know, break open those juices. Let the salt release the liquid. Okay. Put the salt over here. I'm just gonna layer it on like so. Well, we're doing pretty good. We're at 27 minutes of actual work time, not the cleaning up part and looking for everything else. What you doing, Gemma? I may need a bigger tub. Probably going to have to work on that for a minute. Pound it down a little bit so it'll decrease in volume. So I can fit the rest in there. I think after this part we're going to do that. Because we are running out of room. Let's go over here and work on this for a minute. Yeah, I think I may have to get a bigger tub. For beginning. 3.5 gallons does not hold 14 pounds of veggies. Well, it may if I pile it up, but so basically what I'm doing is I'm kind of massaging it and helping it break down a little quicker. Just giving it a good squeeze. This is a good workout for your hands and your arms. I will say that much. Oh, look at that. It's already starting to break down. I don't know if you can see that, but look at the juice coming in my hand. Yeah. So that's a good thing. We need to get that stuff that's on the bottom. It's starting to warm up some from the action it's getting from the salt. Oh, nice. Normally, we wouldn't be doing this yet. It's not time to do this. We would let this sit for about 30 minutes, which I'm still going to do. But since I'm got still a lot more cabbage, I need to get it to act a little faster, do its thing faster. So I'm skipping ahead a step. I just want to take a bite of this. Okay, that might give me a little bit more room there. Tamper it down. Yeah, that freed up some space. I'll rinse my hands real quick. Whew. And here we roll again. I'll be eating sauerkraut all winter long. And technically, you don't have to eat no more than a couple of tablespoons to get all the good benefits. So it doesn't have to be a side. It's almost like you would use it as a garnish and not a side dish. Something else too, when you use up all of your sauerkraut, save the liquid, because it has beneficial beneficial bacteria in it as well, and you can actually use that as a starter for your next batch because it's already had time to build up all those good bacteria. And so with your next batch, you can use a couple of tablespoons or more if you like when you make your next batch to keep this genealogy. Keep it going. I kind of like making my kraut sometimes on my own because I can control the energy that goes into it. You know, when you're making food, you're prepping, cooking, whatever you're doing with it, people can taste your emotions. And so it's always best if you only cook or prep food when you're in a good mood. You know, you can taste the difference. I mean, it tastes far more superior than it would if you was to go to a restaurant where people are angry and feel like they're not getting paid enough for the work they do, or they're having a bad day and they have to come into work. You know, they put all those negative emotions into the food, and that's why sometimes you get food that tastes like crap at a restaurant. Oh my gosh, we're done. So, you know, it's always a good idea to be in a good mood and always speak kindly around your food and bless it with love and peace and joy and happiness. And abundance and prosperity. And, did I say love? Kindness, thoughtfulness, consideration, communication, compatibility, working together with others. You know, this is a good time to use affirmations to tell your food what you want to convey to those who eat it, including yourself. Because when you're speaking, your body hears what you say and it listens. Your body, I want you to think of your body as a genie, and every command that you give to it, it's going to perform and give you exactly what you ask for. And when I say ask for, even if you're talking like I am right now, you're asking for something to happen inside of your body and in your environment. And so when I'm making this, I'm also speaking to my body about healing, and I want it to be healing. And since there are so many excellent probiotics in this food, it's going to be healing to my digestive system, and it's going to build up my gut microbiome and make my immune system function phenomenally, right? And so I'm speaking this into my product. And if more people could do that, you know, it should be a mandated law that anyone who prepares food must do so in the most pristine, positive manner so that the food benefits everyone. Because, you know, this is our medicine. You know, let thy food be thy medicine, let thy medicine be thy food. Hippocrates. That's his quote. That's his saying. You know, and that's how he looked at food, at medicine. You know, we are what we eat. And if we're eating a bunch of junk, where our body turns into junk and it doesn't serve us well. Look at that. We've got a 3.5 gallon tub full of sauerkraut right now, which is going to further break down probably to about half of that. So I'm going to cover that with a towel, the very towel that I'm using, and I'm going to let that sit for about 30 minutes and do its thing. In the meantime, I'm going to pause you and I'll be back. Okay, we are back. This time I'm putting on the gloves because there's a lot of salt in there. And I've got a few scrapes from my boy Chuma, my little kitten. Now, remember I mentioned about a cabbage pounder. If you don't have one and you do have a Vitamix, this little nifty thing will work. It's small, but you know, it'll do the job to get in there and start pounding out those juices. So I already mixed this up a minute ago. I let this go for an hour instead of 30 minutes, simply because I wanted to sit down and eat some lunch. But this will come in handy when I put it in the jar. So let me grab the jar. And I'll show you that. Slide this over for a minute. So here's my jar. This is a 2 gallon. This is a 2 gallon. It comes with a lid. I will be putting that, of course I'm going to rewash that because it's been sitting on the floor. But here's our kraut, and I've tasted this already and it is delicious. So set your timer for 10 minutes. If you're following along with me and you're at this point, we're going to massage our kraut for 10 minutes. That way we got some really good liquid in there. Can you see all that down at the bottom? Let's tilt that a little bit. That is good juice. Okay. So what would you like to talk about while we're doing this? I'm gonna let you leave some comments for something that you might want me to talk about in another video, even. You know, let's talk about age. Like I said earlier, I've reached my 60s, and there are things that I have learned along my journey here that is inside of my head and needs to come out to help others. I'm not going to talk about anything negative while we're doing this, so we're going to keep to the positive, and we'll use other videos for things that are not so good, like things we might be going through or experiencing. But for now, what we're experiencing is some high vibe, high energy, delicious, nutritious, healing food. Oh, look at that. Okay, that needs to get mixed in better. You'll know when it's good and mixed in when you don't see any more green and it's all kind of like starting to turn pink. But that's kind of the goal. We want to mix everything together here. Taste as you go. Now, like I said, I'm using 1.5 teaspoons of salt per pound because I don't like it real salty. I don't like a lot of salt in my kraut. And besides that, it ferments faster with less salt. Some people do it without salt, and I can't see doing that because it would, I don't think it would ferment properly, and you would have to eat it right away. It's not something that can be shelf stable, which this will be. Put it in a cool basement of about 50 degrees, 50 to 60 degrees maybe, or 45 to 50 degrees even, which is where I'm going to be storing mine. So it'll stay cooler and I won't have to refrigerate it. And I'm also going to discuss making brine, because when you go to put this in quart jars, you're not going to leave it in the big jar. I will want to put it in quart jars because as I begin to eat it, I will take one jar, or I might even put it in pint jars, who knows, quarts and pints. But I'll take one jar and put it in the refrigerator and eat from that, because once I open it, I will be pulling food out of it, and I want to make sure that it stays good. And always remember to push any little bits back down under the brine. Under the brine, all is fine. The brine is what keeps it from developing the wrong bacteria. And the main bacteria in this is lactobacillus, which is very good with anaerobic conditions, which means no air. And so as long as it's under the brine, there is no air and no bad bacteria can get in. Okay. give this a little pounding here. Give my hands a little rest for a minute. See how this has gone down to almost half of the tub full now. It's decreased by half in volume. Just about. And I look for it to decrease a little bit more as it ferments. And when we go to put it in the jar, you're going to do it in layers. You're going to put a little bit and you're going to tamp it down. This is where the cabbage pounder would come in handy, because what I'm using is not really wide enough at the bottom. You want a wide bottom tamper, one that at least will fit into a quart-sized jar, which would be about that big around, roughly. And that way you can press it down, because you don't want any air bubbles in your kraut. Because what's going to happen is it's going to build up carbon dioxide and it's going to push the kraut up. And this is why we use fermentation weights. And if you don't have a good fermentation weight, a heavy one, you can use rocks. But you want to pick good clean rocks, wash them, scrub them up really good with hot soapy water. And then you want to boil them for about 10 minutes to make sure that there are no bad germs or anything else on it that could ruin your batch of kraut. I've used, depending on how much this fits in this jar, I will use a quart-sized jar or a pint-sized jar and fill it up with water and sit that at the top. Like if I have a plate over it, which is what I'm going to do with this, I will put the cabbage leaves over top, put the plate over top of those, and then set a heavy jar of liquid over top of that. And you'll want to seal up that glass jar that you're using, but you want to make sure that the brine doesn't come up to the top of it. Otherwise, the next best thing you can do is you can make some brine to put in that jar. So if by chance the liquid rises up to the top of that jar, you're just going to have brine in there, and it's not going to do anything that will affect your end results. And that's kind of what I do. And I will put everything on the video. Right from the beginning, I'm going to put my recipe and how much of what to use and how to make brine, because later on when you go to put this in jars, you're going to need to be able to top it off, and you want to keep that brine consistency good. Even though we're building up a bunch of liquid here, it may not be enough to keep things submerged. And this is where you want to get some pickle pebbles. They're little glass fermentation weights. I'll mark all of this down for you so that you can copy it, or I might even link a PDF. And there's our 10 minutes. Look at that. And we are about ready to put this in the jar. Okay, be right back. Okay, just gonna grab some paper towels and dry that out. I don't want any part of the city water to touch my kraut because of all the chemicals in it, and the chlorine will kill off any beneficial bacteria. And we just don't want that now. Not for use with hot liquids. This is an Anchor Hocking jar. Okay. Watch out, Gigi. You gotta move. So we're just going to start dumping that in there. Kind of press it down with your fist a little bit as you go. This may completely fill this jar up. Maybe. Maybe not. Still got a bit left. Whew. I'll tell you what, it's better to invest this much time once than to have to do this frequently, which is why I like doing it in bulk. That's why it's done, and I can go on about my daily life. Oh yeah, this will fit perfectly. In fact, let's all that good deliciousness out of there. And yes, be prepared to make a mess. This is a messy job. I don't think there's any kind of cooking that is not messy at some point or another. And that's all part of the fun. Getting messy. You go out inside and play, you get dirty, right? Play in the dirt, play in the mud. That gets, oh, look at that. That gave us about 3/4 of that jar full. Now look at that. We have all this wonderful brine. Oh my. That is just gorgeous. Gorgeous, I tell you. Gorgeous. Oh, yummy, 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 yummy. And it's going to be yummy in my tummy. We'll wipe this down here momentarily. But the next step is to get these leaves in the jar. Breaking off a hard piece. I'm actually gonna, so I want to go around the edge and make sure I got the edges together. Okay, I have found a jar that will suffice, and I'm just going to push it down in there. I'm gonna have to flip this cabbage over somehow. Yep. We gotta do some finagling. So it's good that this happens, because now you can see other alternatives of how to make it work. flip that. I really wish I had a smaller plate to put in there. It would work a lot better. But I do have these. Here's the pebbles I was telling you about. Wait a second. I could set one there. Oops, turn over. Set that there. And set the other one over here. Push down. And that looks like we might have everything under the brine for the most part. As a matter of fact, let's slide that over just a hair. We think. I think we might have a winner here. Look out. Look out, babies. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm just going to leave it set up here on the table. Clean it off a bit. I don't think it's going to bubble over too much. If it does, then I'll get it picked up and put it into a dish. Okay. We can leave that sit there for now. It can soak up anything that's okay. So the next thing is to cover it with a tea towel. This way it allows the carbon dioxide to escape. Now I want to fix that like so that I can watch it. We also want to put a big band around it. Now I don't have any rubber bands big enough, but I do have some cotton string, and so I'm basically going to measure around the jar and cut enough to tie it. And the reason for this is simply to keep those pesky little gnats out that love fermenting things, and keep our pets out of it too. So I have cats, and they like to look and investigate things. Okay, so I can go up to the rim on that. There we go. Now I kind of want to be able to watch it, so I'm going to bring that up just a bit. Okay. Wait a minute. I find it helpful that if when you're trying to tie a knot and keep it taut, you want to go once, twice, and it'll hold in place until you tie your bow or whatever else you're going to do with it. So I'm up to the brim, And we can see how things are going in there now. Perfect. We've got kraut going.